بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله الأرضين أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Alhamdulillah, we have tawfiq to continue our study of epistemology in Islam. And as you remember, we started studying Usul Falsafe by Rabbi Shiralis by the late Allama Tabatabai and commentary of Ayatollah Mutahari, Rahmatullah alayh, from the third article or third essay of the book, which is about Idrak. And we had a very good footnote from Ayatollah Mutahari about 3 levels of understanding. First was his perception. Second was khayal, and that is here our memory. When we see something, it is perception. When we close our eyes and still we have very particular image, this is khayal, and then it's aqli, intellectual. And we said that before Mullah Sadra, many philosophers in the West, Greek philosophers in Islam, they had the idea that only intellectual understanding is mujarrad, is immaterial. Hissi or khayali are not immaterial. But Mullah Sadra said, no, all types of understanding are immaterial and are done by human soul, not human body. So these are things we discussed last session. Now, Allama has a kind of analogy. He says tamthil. He says, suppose that you have a photo 12 in 8 centimeters, like a postal card, and you look at this photo. You would see a family with its members are there. There is a lake behind them, sunshine, some trees are there, and you would also see that there is a person that looks like father, because he looks with, love and kindness to the children, and children are around him. They have some apples, some have taken one apple and eating, some are smelling, some has one and still wants more, some wants to take all of the apples, their mountain. So when you look at this beautiful picture, at the first sight, he puts in brackets, nazar awwal. In the first sight, you see this. But when you look back again at the same picture, this time you would see that it is a piece of paper, which is white, but then there are colorful dots on this paper. And this is the second sight. Now, If you are asked, is this massive scenery that you are seeing with all the details, and the more you look at it carefully, the more you find details. Was this scenery in your hand? In other words, was this scenery all existing on 12 in 8 centimeter paper? What would you say? You would certainly say no. How can such a massive, maybe it was about 15 kilometers, a square kilometer, seen in this picture, how that could be on piece of paper in my hand? This was portraying, representing, in Farsi nishan dadan, in Arabic hikayat. In English, maybe you can say portraying, relaying. It was relaying, it was not the same thing, it was portraying that scenery. So there are totally different things. And then he says, our observation and experience and experiments have proved that when we use our senses, when we see, when we smell, when we hear, the material realities influence our nervous system. They have impact on us. If sensation stops, that stops. If sensation starts or continues, that impact on our nervous system, on our brain, etc., would be there. But we don't deny this, but there is something else that happens, which should not be reduced to the changes of material realities on our nervous system, and that is idrak. Our understanding, our knowledge is different. We cannot say that this massive, beautiful, wonderful scenery is present in any part of our body, as it cannot be present on any paper. Neither our brain can contain that scenery nor brain. Both of them are material. They cannot contain it. It is our understanding that corresponds to that, and understanding is for the soul, and it's immaterial. Allah says, I'm sorry, there is noise today here. Mushahede. And there is footnote here by Ayatollah Mutahari, inshallah I will come back to. Mushahede wa tajrube, observation and experiments have proved that when we use our senses, as a result of influence that reality of matter makes on our nervous system and brain, some material reactions take form in us. Our body reacts And this starts when our senses are triggered and stop when there is no triggering. There is no influence coming from outside. و مقارن اینها I am reading the red lines. The red lines are for علامة طباطبایی. و مقارن این حال چیزی را به نام ادراک می‌یابیم. At this time, parallel to this, not the same thing, parallel to this, we find something as idrak, as understanding. We can never accept that this vast, with all wonderful, characteristics that this scenery has, with all the lines and all the, surface, etc., we can never accept that it exists on part of our nervous system or brain, with all the small size that it has. And then he says, on the other hand, when we have mistakes, errors in our sensation, sometimes errors are also useful. So when there are errors and we realize that there are errors, then this helps us to realize that the reality of the world is different from us. Because if we were making everything, then error doesn't have any meaning. So it is the outside world that triggers our senses, influences our senses, and it is the real world, the external world, that triggers our senses, and we are just here reacting. We are reacting. We are not creating the sceneries, etc. We are reacting. We receive some impacts, some influences, some effects from outside. Sometimes we may make mistake, and this is good because this shows that we are not creating. You cannot make mistake if you were creating things. Then he says, پس این صورت ادراکی نه در ماده ما جایگزین است و نه در ماده خارج از ما. This mental image is neither in the material reality inside us, like brain, nor a material thing outside us, like a piece of paper. There is the real scenery, there is idrak or mental image of that, which is neither on paper nor on the brain, it's in the soul. Then, as a summary, he says, چون صورت ادراکی ما خواص عمومی ماده انقسام، عدم انطباق بزرگ به کوچک را ندارد، مادی نیست. So, our mental image doesn't have general properties of material things. For example, material things are munqasim. They can be divided. If not khariji, at least wahmi, aqli, we can keep dividing them. We can suppose there is right, left side, so we can make it half. Then again, make it half. As long as there is even little madde, it can be divided. Or in material realities, something bigger cannot be put inside something smaller. But we see our idrak is not divided. Your idrak. The scenery is possible to be divided. You know, for example, you can say, I have an image in my mind of a lake. Then you can say right side of the lake, left side of the lake. Yeah, it's possible. Like you have a body, human body. You can say right hand, left hand. That's not a problem. But the mental image is simple, is basit, and cannot be divided. Excuse me, just.